Royals baseball, and it's game 2 tonight between the Royals and the Nationals on a much warmer day in Kansas City. Good hitting weather, and the Royals need a big game on offense tonight. Royals baseball is presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price every day. Hi everyone, welcome back to the ballpark with Rex Hudler. I'm Ryan Lefevre. Okay, ready? Let's together. Big deep breath. Ready? Okay, we're just 25 games into the season right now, and really, let's start with the positives. One of the biggest question marks for this team this year is probably overperformed, and that would be the pitching staff.
That's right, and you know what? There's still one game over 500. Look, and the way we're hitting, you wouldn't think that, but that's pitching. There was a lot of question marks. Who's going to fill in the back end? No Holland. Who's going to starters going to be? Well, look what's happening all of a sudden. Guys are emerging. Now, they're only human. They're going to give it up sometimes, but for the most part, at 3.3, that's keeping them in the game.
Okay, now the obvious problem right now, offensively, the Royals have been shut out in 3 of their last 4 games. It's just not happening right now offensively. So we know that. We know the numbers. You may be wondering, how's the clubhouse handling it?
So we've been shut out 3 out of the last 4 games, but I saw, much better at bats tonight. Morales hit some balls hard. Esky looks like he's coming out of it nicely. It's just I felt better about our at-bats than I did on the road.
This group's been through too much to press in April, especially late in the game. So I just think we're just not getting it done. We just we're getting the table set up, and it's just not happening. So we'll find a way to get it done. And these things come usually. One guy kind of breaks the ice and gets a hit, and it just kind of gets contagious from there. So I wouldn't say anybody's pressing. There's no loss of confidence, so just got to continue to plug along and play the game.
Again, we're not firing on all cylinders offensively. We got guys that are struggling right now, but guys that are proven players, guys that have tremendous track records, and they're going to break out of it here real soon.
I agree with Ned. I saw some good at-bats last night. No luck. That's how baseball is. And I also agree with Haas. It's going to happen.
And what has been happening for the last 3 years in Kansas City is the bullpen. And when we come back, Joel and Monty will talk about what has become a 5, 6, 7-headed monster. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to beautiful Kauffman Stadium. Perfect night for baseball here at the K. Joel Goldberg, Royals Hall of Famer Jeff Montgomery, Wade Davis, the pitcher of the month in April. We know how great he is, but how about the guys in front of him? And Joakim Soria starting to figure some things out too. But the rest of that group, Monty, that's leading up right now to Wade Davis has been spectacular.
You will not find a great closer without great setup men. In the Royals case, they've got 3 guys right now that are throwing the ball extremely well. Let's look at Danny Duffy. His last couple of outings have just been essentially brilliant. The way he's used his fastball, stranding runners, Danny Duffy doing a great job. Calvin Herrera's been so consistent the last couple years. He's added it, his slider, really looking good with Calvin Herrera out there. And then Luke Hochevar, the converted starter now, he's the fireman coming in, putting out those fires, stranding runners on his own.
Those 3 guys combined have a 2.00 ERA, and so they've been great. Herrera hasn't given up a run this year. Davis hasn't given up a run this year. And Joakim Soria, who definitely got squeezed his last time out, and a phantom ball call, has been better too. So an embarrassment of riches for Ned Yost and that bullpen. I mentioned Wade Davis. How about he and Eric Hosmer winning April awards for their performances? Ryan and Hud will talk about them next.
Well, here's to the Royals going round and round the bases tonight, trying to break through against the Washington Nationals. All right, here are our first players of the month, our Academy Sports and Outdoors leaderboard. No surprise that Wade Davis is the pitcher of the month. Eric Hosmer is not a surprise, Hud, but a career year last year. Many feel like there's still a lot more in there, and he's off to a great start.
Oh, 18-game hitting streak. Wow, are you kidding? The man from Haas is getting it done. And not to mention that extremely gold glove he carries.
Our pitching matchup tonight, Chris Young will make his 3rd start for the Royals at Kauffman Stadium, where he's pitched well. And Tanner Roark, who is another national starter, off to a great start. And our pitching matchup, Chris Young against Tanner Roark. And after a couple of shaky starts, Chris Young has been good in his last two. Tanner Roark has not allowed a run in his last two. No runs over his last 14 innings covering his last two starts. So Young and Roark, and Chris Young hoping for some run support. Time to break out the bats. It's game 2 at the Nationals coming up next. Is being broadcast on AFN, the American Forces Network, broadcasting to the U.S. Armed Forces serving around the world on land and on ships at sea. So we say welcome, and we hope that tonight's broadcast makes you feel a little closer to home. Here at home in Kansas City, it is a very pleasant night. It was a cold night last night. It's been a very pleasant year for Dusty Baker and the Washington Nationals. They are off to an 18-7 start. That puts them in first place in the National League East with a 1.5 lead over the Mets. He did not need much offense last night. His team scored 2 in the top of the first inning against Edinson Volquez, and that was the only offense in the game. Tonight, he'll take a shot at right-hander Chris Young.
Yep, and Chris Young, he's been going with a majority of sliders. 52% over his fastball at 47%. Now he's fastball slider guy, occasional changeups, just 2 pitches, and the deception that he has in his invisible that he throws high in the strike zone gives guys a lot of fits. Look at the strikeouts. Heck, 26 strikeouts in 25 innings. That's getting the job done, and with just 2 pitches makes him phenomenal.
And a look at the Royals defensively, presented by Ford. It'll be Gordon, Kane, and Dyson in the outfield. Christian Colon makes a second straight start at third. Mike Moustakas has been bothered by a sore left thumb. Alcides Escobar, Omar Infante, and Eric Hosmer on the infield with Salvador Perez behind the plate. And there's our crew chief, Fielden Henry Colbreth III. We'll be calling the balls and strikes with C.B. Buckner, Jim Reynolds, and Manny Gonzalez. And Chris Young's first pitch is low to Michael Taylor, who opened the game last night with a walk. It ended up being Edinson Volquez's only walk in 7 2/3 innings, and Taylor eventually stole third in that first inning and scored the first of 2 runs. right to Lorenzo Cain in center field, who shuffles back a couple of strides. And tonight, Michael Taylor is out to begin the game.
Well, maybe that's going to be a good sign for Chris Young. That's what he does. He's a fly ball pitcher in the perfect place in Major League Baseball, the K. Big, spacious yard, 410 straightaway center field. A lot of room to roam. Likes to throw that ball right above the belt. Borderline pitch, looks good to the hitters, but sometimes, and most of the time when he's going good, gets a lot of fly balls. There's the dimensions.
Anthony Rendon takes a fastball for a strike. Rendon singled and scored the Nationals' second run in the first inning last night. 1 ball and 1 strike.
You know, Rendon didn't just show up. This guy, he was a great college player for the University of Rice. Hit .371 in 3 years at that university.
1-2.
Well decorated with all kind of amateur awards. Remember him, you know, putting on that rock concert there? This guy, man, he was a star in college. And he's not doing too shabby here.
1-2. It's early, but good to see that the Nationals are not right on Chris Young's fastball. If you look at his numbers and you really break them down this year compared to last year, opponents are hitting .375 off of his fastball. They've hit all 6 home runs allowed by Chris Young on the fastball. Last year, HUD, opponents hit .219 off of his fastball.
So far, you want to say it's early, but he's going to have to try to make some corrections with the location there in order for him to have the success he had last year.
Full count.
And at 88, 89 miles an hour, you got to be just right with the location.
And that fastball is belted to left field into the corner. So make it all 7 home runs allowed by Chris Young this year have been on his fastball. It is also the 3rd home run he's allowed this year in the first inning.
And this was a no doubter. Right on the inner half. 4-seam fastball.
So 1-0 Washington, and now Bryce Harper, who takes a slider low. Here's our Kubota power stats for tonight. Nationals are 13 games above 500 when they score first. Only the Tigers are unbeaten this year when they score before their opponent, and the Tigers are 4 games above 500 and 3 games back of the White Sox. But then it's the Nationals, then the Padres. That's a bit of a surprise. They're a last place team, and then the White Sox, who lead the Central Division. That got the home plate umpire Field and Colbreth. 1-2 on Harper.
Want to try to pitch Harper middle away if you can. Make him use that opposite field. The kind of power he has. Majority of his home runs center field to right. Although the infielders got a real strong pull over to the right side. Rarely do you see all 3 Royals right here.
Well, you're right. They're not. I mean, they're very bunched up. I mean, normally one guy will play behind second base.
Right.
Or maybe just to the right of second base.
I don't remember seeing all year our defense over there on the right side.
They are flooding the zone.
Yeah, they are.
As you might say in another sport. So there you go. Just 5 hits to left field. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Harper had one of those hits to left field in last night's game. He was 1 for 4 with a bloop single, and the Royals struck him out twice. Strike 3. Got him looking at a slider.
There's a beauty. Rarely do you see a starting pitcher in the major leagues throw a majority of his pitches with the slider, with an off-speed pitch. Most guys use fastball and they set up their slider, but that's a beauty. Harper, you got to go.
Two down to Ryan Zimmerman. Zimmerman drove in the first of 2 runs for the Nationals in the first inning last night with a double to right against Edinson Volquez, and he hit a pretty good pitch.
And he hit it with authority. You know, interesting to listen to all the talk shows and everything today around Kansas City. They're talking about how Paulo didn't get a good jump on that. Well, I had to explain to some of them, look, that ball had backspin. And the hit, the fielder watches the hitter. He looked off balance, so it's going to freeze you for a split second. It's not easy to catch a ball when you don't know the trajectory and how hard it was actually hit from the outfield.
And he was playing somewhat shallow, so he would have had to run a mile to get to it. Fouled away. Zimmerman swinging on 3-0. Gerard Dyson is back out in right field tonight. Zimmerman ended up with 2 doubles last night. Off the end of the bat. Escobar wants it. And that'll do it in the top of the first. Anthony Rendon homers to left field, and Washington has a 1-0 lead. As the Royals come up in the bottom of the first inning. Changes from last night. Well, there's one. Gerard Dyson is back in right for Paulo Orlando. Mike Moustakas injured his thumb in Anaheim. He re-aggravated it on Sunday in Seattle, so he is not in the lineup tonight. Christian Colon gets a second consecutive start at third base. Here's our Let's Motor player profile, brought to you by BMW Mini. Tanner Roark, a 15-inning scoreless streak, which is the 3rd longest in the major leagues. And if you're going to get him early. 6 of his 9 runs allowed have come in the first.
Yeah, Roark's been a rock star lately. He's a command pitcher, not overpowering, although he does have a decent fastball slightly above 90. Slider, curve, and a change. Sinker baller deluxe. He's a guy that likes to get the movement down.
Alcides Escobar cracked his bat, but he'll trade it in for a base hit. So we haven't seen a lot of Escobar hits on the first pitch of the game, and he's at first with nobody out.
Well, he'll take that one. Hate to lose your bat, but that bat died a hero, believe it. Starting off the game, look at him, got way in on him. You can see it's in near his hands, and he'll take it. See him shaking his hand there. Got a little jam shot. That stings that top end.
And you'll trade that for a hit every time.
Yes, you will.
Sinker ball pitchers can be good pitchers to run on. Everything is down, which makes it a little more challenging for the catcher to throw.
He has a hop move to first base. So not a great move, but it's going to keep him honest.
Lorenzo Cain up the middle, and that'll be 6-4-3. So 2 pitches into the bottom of the first, and Roark has 2 outs. Nationals defensively, they have only committed 8 errors this year, and that ties the Royals for the fewest in the major leagues. So their fielding percentage is very good, but some of the advanced metrics will tell you that they don't get to the same balls that the Royals do. They are, according to defensive runs saved, they are 0, meaning they are neither above average nor below average, while the Royals are second best in the major leagues in defensive runs saved.
Had a chance to talk to Washington Nationals manager Dusty Baker today, and I asked him if they had any characteristics of the Royals, their team, and what he thought about the Royals. And he says, man, we defend just as well as they do. They have a little bit more power. You guys have a little more speed.
That is a 5-pitch bottom of the first inning for Roark.
We probably have a little more sock than they do, and they got a little more speed than we do. But we both play good defense, which I'm big on. We both have good pitching, and actually I love, the style and brand of baseball that the Royals play. And, like I really respect and admire, Ned Yost over there, for letting these horses run. And, he plays the old National League style of ball, and it's perfect, especially in this ballpark.
Yeah, Dusty, even though he's been out for a couple of years before he accepted the managerial position here, he said he's been keeping an eye, and he watched the Royals the last 2 postseasons, and he's been impressed.
He took the Giants to the World Series. He also took the Cubs and the Reds to the playoffs. Daniel Murphy out to center field, and second chance for Lorenzo Cain, 1 down.
Remember last night we were talking about his wristbands? He had him on in that interview. Did you notice him?
He's got the sleeves on.
Yeah, but he covers them up. But you know, he gave me a couple souvenir wristbands I'm really proud of, and I asked him why he wears those still, and he goes, "Makes me believe I'm still in the game. Makes me feel good."
I still love that. When he was with all those teams I just mentioned, always, and they're not just the the little tennis style wristbands. I mean, they're the forearm wristbands. Here's Jason Worth and a strike from Chris Young. I mean, they've got his face, they've got his signature on him, and I guess that's a sponsor there at the bottom, but
he's the guy.
I like it. Worth is the designated hitter tonight. 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts last night. Talking over that last call with home plate umpire Field and Colbreth. Like a veteran, he wasn't looking in the direction of Field and Colbreth. It was pretty clear that they're having a chat. He did not get a piece, or did he? I think he did, and doesn't realize that he did. Now that doesn't look very good for the umpire, because if anyone's going to know if he made contact or not, it's going to be the hitter. And Jason Worth now is saying, well, of course I made contact.
Yeah, he's halfway back to the dugout. I heard a little tick.
Yeah. Oh, maybe not.
Super slow motion. I don't know.
Escobar goes to the middle. So it only cost Chris Young 1 more pitch. I don't know if I've seen that before. Now we've seen the opposite, where the hitter swears that he made contact and the umpire's not going for it. But as I said, if anybody knows whether the hitter made contact or not, it's the hitter, because he feels a little vibration on the bat.
I was sharing with some folks today about baseball, and a couple of them were coming to the cave for the first time, and I said, you're going to see something we've never seen before tonight. I guarantee it. Every single baseball game. How is that possible?
And for those of that group that were hoping it would be a hitter who gets to come back after foul tipping the ball, well, they're thrilled that they got to see that for the first time tonight.
No, it wasn't,
but you're right.
A very special thing, but it's always something.
Ramos grounds out to second base. Chris Young has a quick top of the second inning. 1-0 Washington. Morales, Alex Gordon, and Salvador Perez in the bottom of the second inning. Our greater coverage of baseball is brought to you by T-Mobile. The Yankees, 7 games under 500 for the first time in 9 years. And we'll see the Yankees on the next road trip. Tampa Bay is playing well. They happen to be playing the Dodgers, who are struggling offensively. Their biggest contributor lately has been Clayton Kershaw, but they have scored 3 runs so far in their game with Tampa Bay.
He can rake, but he can't rake as good as Baumgartner.
Well, speaking of the Yankees, I'll bet Kendrys Morales at times feels like Joe Girardi and would like to see the defensive shifts banned from the game. He has, in the last 2 or 3 games, hit quite a few balls just like this, and instead of a base hit, there's a second baseman waiting out in right field.
Yeah, that's illegal, huh? That's what Girardi said. I like it. I like the fact that he came out and spoke his mind.
Would you ban the shifts?
Ooh, to a certain point. Wouldn't that be great if they drew lines out there you couldn't cross them? I don't know. Major League Baseball doesn't like to change their rules all that often.
But for every player who has been harmed by the shift, I don't know if there's another player for player on the other side, but there are plenty like Mike Moustakas, who's found a way to beat the shift.
There's another one. That might have been a tough backhand play for a second baseman to make. You know, Rhino, like I said, maybe down the line in years to come, they put little small marks out there. Little small marks where you can't cross a certain point. I mean, who knows what they'll do.
Two down to Salvador Perez. 0 for 4 last night with 3 outs in the air.
And right before the pitch, Chris Spire, former great shortstop in his days, the infield instructor, moved Murphy from the regular second base hole all the way to the other side. So they shift like almost before the pitcher just throws the ball. They're moving.
And then he moves again because the scouting report on Salvi is with 2 strikes. He will go to the opposite field. Taylor makes the play in center field. So after a 5-pitch first inning, Roark has a 7-pitch second inning. Birthday, big 5-year-old. Proud to be 5 years old. Here's our Tuminia Mazda game break. John Danks has been designated for assignment by the Chicago White Sox. That is a rare sight right there. John Danks frustrated against the Royals because the Royals had never beaten John Danks until last year. And I want to say the Royals beat him 2 or 3 times Finally getting around on him, but didn't beat him until at least 15 starts, and designated for assignment by a team that's 10 games above 500. 1 ball and 1 strike on Danny Espinosa. Yeah, the Royals beat him 3 times last year after never beating him before 2015.
He had a nice career.
And he has a lot of money remaining on his contract, but designated by Chicago. Espinosa, another shot at trying to bunt against Chris Young, and now down in the count 1-2.
Well, last year you wouldn't see him try to bunt like that. Young threw a lot more fastballs up in the zone. You can't bunt those. But now that Espinosa obviously knows that a lot of sliders are coming, those are pitches are breaking down, they're easier to bunt.
Two balls and 2 strikes. On the topic of that little boy who turned 5 years old today, we have found out that a big Royals fan in Auburn, Nebraska, Juanita Bauer, is 100 years old today. And we're told that she is watching the game, so happy birthday, Juanita.
Yeah, and you get a strikeout for that.
So he's got 95 years to go, that little guy.
There you go. Hey, happy birthday to all.
Juanita, born in 1916, and joined the Royals from Auburn, Nebraska. This is Chris Heisey. We saw Heisey as a pinch hitter late in the game last night, and he's been a pinch hitter extraordinaire since getting to the big leagues in 2010. He has the most home runs and RBIs of any pinch hitter. 13 pinch hit home runs and 39 driven in one of the most difficult roles in the game. High slider for a strike, 1-2.
I knew that Heisey could hit and he had some power, but I had no idea he had that many pinch hit home runs in his career. That's awesome. And you're a valuable commodity when you can do that.
Two balls and 2 strikes. Very high to left field. And Alex brings it down for the 2nd out. It is Nurses Day at the K, and nurses are everywhere around the ballpark. Signs in every nook and cranny, every corner of Kauffman Stadium.
Oh my, if you're going to get sick, tonight might be the night. Way to go, ladies. Hope you enjoy your time. And there's some men nurses too, I'm sure. Thanks for coming.
All-time leader, Major League history, pinch hit home runs. Former Royal for a short time, Matt Stairs.
Wow.
23 pinch hit home runs.
Unbelievable.
Now a part of the Phillies broadcast team, so we'll see him in interleague play this year.
He's a great guy. You know, he's the only, in my 11 years out there broadcasting on the West Coast, he's the only player that ever came up to the booth with his uniform on in the middle of the game. Came to the booth. He heard I was talking about him and his baseball bats, and he brought one up to me.
Oh, so it was a pleasant meeting to the booth. Okay.
Yeah. No, unlike yours, he was happy. He'd heard I wanted one of his bats, or I was talking about my bat collection, and he brought one up and said, "Hud, here it is." And I went, "Whoa, what are you doing up here?"
Right in the middle of the game in uniform.
It's beautiful.
Spikes and everything.
That's it. He had it all.
Base hit left field for Michael Taylor. So Chris Young had set down 7 in a row. Taylor is 1 for 2.
Hey, Kansas City Royals fan, next time you want to grab Royal seats, get the StubHub app. Not only will you find seats you'll love, whenever you want, you can find the best seat for your buck when you sort the best by value. We take a price, location of seats, and show you which tickets at StubHub give you the best deal. So get the StubHub app today.
One nothing Washington in the top of the third on an Anthony Rendon home run. And for Rendon, it was his first of the year and just his second RBI. Fastball that was in and was down, at least for Chris Young. And with a one-handed swing, Rendon got it inside the left field bullpen, or the left field foul pole. He got underneath that one, still drives it near the warning track in center field. Lorenzo Cain brings it down. And that's all for the Nationals in the third. 1-0 Washington. Royals baseball is brought to you by Thoroughbred Ford. Ready for a great deal on a new Ford? Then it's time to go to Thoroughbred Ford. Beautiful night. It was cold last night. Cold, heavy air. The ball did not carry at all. And a very pleasant Tuesday evening in Kansas City tonight. 1-0 Nationals on an Anthony Rendon home run. Tanner Roark has faced only 6 in the first 2 innings, and that was just his 13th pitch.
So you talked about how cool it was. I asked that gentleman right there, Art Stewart, long-time scout, been in every ballpark in America. Art, did it get cold last night? Yeah, Rex, you know, it really did, but I'm used to it. When you're a scout, you brave any kind of weather, any condition, and any place to find the talent.
I didn't realize Art was related to Nolan Ryan.
I left the Southern draw out of there.
It sounded a little bit like Nolan.
He's a Chicago guy.
Okay.
But it was interesting, you know.
He's right.
He's been everywhere. Guy's a legend.
And famous for saying, like a lot of other scouts do, is you never leave a baseball game early. He's signed many players over his long career when all the other scouts left because the star guys were removed from the game or a pitcher was done for the day, and stick around for all 9 innings. And oh, here comes a reliever who seems to have a good arm, or guy comes in as a defensive replacement late in the game and has some skills. Omar Infante takes a leadoff walk. Second time the Royals have had the leadoff man on in the first 3 innings. Vote for the Royals Player of the Month at one of the 7 Rally House locations in the Kansas City metro area. All participants will be entered to win a majestic prize pack. And we announced before the game tonight the Royals player and pitcher for the month of April, Eric Hosmer and Wade Davis. Here's Christian Colon getting a second straight start at third base for Mike Moustakas, who has a bruised thumb. Royals aren't too concerned about that, but no need to make it any worse than it is right now. And plus, Christian Colon gets some playing time.
Back-to-back games. He loved it. Looks like they're trying to pitch him inside. Tanner Roark. Command guy, sinker baller. He has some cutting action to his slider. It's not a real big slider. He's got an overhand curve. Doesn't use many of them, but he likes this changeup. He'll use the changeup to both righties and lefties. Stays through the ball well. Let's break his pitch down. Fastball, slider, change, curve. Fastball, majority of them, they're sinkers. 2 seamers.
Infante runs. No out at second base. Colon is out, but making contact with the runner going, and Infante moves into scoring position.
Yeah, you know, I was going to mention hit and run, but usually with nobody out, and Ned rarely uses the hit and run. Now it's a weapon that he has the talented players to do it, but usually with nobody out, as Infante got out of the way of that ball getting hit, it usually takes you out of an inning if a guy gets thrown out. So that's a good idea against a sinker baller. Maybe we'll see some more of that since Ned's showing it here early in the game. It's a good way to get guys out of slumps, and also it moves them around the bases if they're successful.
Dyson takes down and away. So here's that situation that's really dogged the Royals over the past week. The Royals have lost 6 of their last 7 games, and oftentimes after the losses during that stretch, we're talking about the Royals' inability to hit with runners in scoring position. 1-1. Dyson, however, is hitting over 300 with runners in scoring position. The Royals as a team are hitting .201.
Sinker baller, find a hole. If he's going to make you hit it on the ground, might as well get one in the hole. Oh, wow, there you go again. That's what I'm saying.
Just a bit outside.
We were talking about that last night.
Always wanted to say that.
Yeah, that was good. Oh, man. Whoop. That's what we were talking about. That. Did throw the ball to the back of the screen.
I'm guessing that didn't register on the grid on Fox Tracks. Any chance we could see that pitch again with Fox Tracks?
Yeah. It's a good thing they extended the netting on over the dugouts.
2-1 to Dyson with Infante at second base. And now 3 balls and 1 strike.
There you go. Focus right up the middle. It's a big hole up there. Outfielders are very shallow, so it could be a tester at the plate on a routine single anywhere. Michael Taylor, the center fielder, has 2 outfield assists. Now the other outfielders, they throw okay, but they haven't registered an assist yet. Harper's got a good arm. Take the base.
O'Rourke has walked 2. And now the top of the order coming up with 2 on and 1 out. And Alcides Escobar, who seems to be back After a very slow start, we'll call him our Honda most trusted player tonight. With his base hit in the first inning, he's now 5 for his last 10. Before that, he had 2 hits in his previous 24 at-bats.
See him up in the zone, just like his first at-bat. He got a sinker that didn't sink.
Blocked by Ramos. Escobar last night was 1 for 4. He could have easily been 4 for 4. He lined to the outfield twice and also grounded sharply to second. And his 1 hit was a double.
Fonte can get a little bigger lead. They're not holding him close.
There we go. Right center field. Infante will be waved home. Dyson goes to third. So Escobar is now 6 for his last 11. And the Royals have tied the game at 1.
Got to look back at that little no-out hit and run that Ned used there with Colon and Infante. And Infante got in scoring position. Now there's the sinker that didn't sink again. That's the one you look for when you hear the term see him up in the zone. Just like that, lobbed it out there, and they're on the board. Nice to see a Royal getting hot. Stay hot.
Kane grounded into a double play on the first pitch he saw in the first inning. Roark made the pitch that he wanted to, down and into Kane, and he grounded out 6-4-3. And let's see if, like Escobar, he looks for something to shoot to right field, because Roark is probably going to try and get him to pull another pitch here on the ground.
Yep. So you want to keep your hands inside of it.
It's a slider down and away.
And Roark likes to use that slider away on righties.
That seems to be a troublesome pitch for Lorenzo this year, more than I remember last year. He's been very vulnerable to sliders down and away.
He's going to have to discipline himself to lay off of it. Can't do much with those down there. And you know, Roark not only has downward action, he also has a little east and west movement on his sinker.
Escobar has stolen 6 to lead the Royals, and he's only been thrown out once. It's another way to stay out of the double play. Not running, and Kane takes inside. 1 ball, 1 strike.
That's a good take there. He's able to use that front foot, his lead foot, to kind of hold his weight back, but got to pick up that release point. Got to pick up the ball first before you do anything. Two-seamer, the sinker didn't sink much, but he kept it in, ran in on it.
Good fastball over the outside, 1-2. Talking about how Escobar has his swing back. Well, Lorenzo Kane, like Escobar, started to put the pieces back together on the road trip. And Kane, by going 1 for 4 in last night's game, he's hit in 5 straight games. Escobar runs, and the pitch is down and away. No chance for Ramos at all. And now no chance for a ground ball double play. And Escobar has swiped his 7th base of the year.
Great timing. You know, you try as a base runner to go on an off-speed pitch. It gives you a little bit more time to get down there, but a ball into dirt is deluxe. Look at that. That's an easy bag.
Two and 2. That time he laid off the slider. C.B. Buckner, the first base umpire.
And because Roark almost got him to swing there, he might just go back there again. But Lorenzo Cain's going to have to discipline himself, stay off it. Hosmer on deck.
Strike 3 over the outside. Well, he's got to try and make some contact there, but that wasn't necessarily a fat pitch.
No, and it was a good pitch, but with count full, runners at second and third, it's too close to take for sure. And what it was, I'm sure that the Roark slider was in the back of Lorenzo Cain's mind, and he just couldn't pick it up. So let's see if, speaking of picking up, if Hosmer can pick up Cain right here.
Dyson's at third, Escobar's at second. Hosmer flied out to center field to end the bottom of the first inning. And that breaking ball dipped low. Roark, by allowing a run here in the bottom of the third inning, that puts an end to one of the best scoreless streaks, current scoreless streaks in the big leagues. He had gone 17 consecutive innings without allowing a run, and now he's trying to hold it to 1 run. One ball, 1 strike. May have been up and out of the strike zone. 1-2.
Change up, but the pitch before that was the fastball he wanted. Roark he attacks the strike zone and he tries to stay down, but once in a while he's going to get pitches up, but that's a little bit too far up. Uses the changeup to both left-handers and right-handers.
How about a wild pitch?
That would work. About a 3-run homer. Not with that one, but looking at Gerard Dyson and his speed, and looking where the third baseman Rendon's playing, you almost think, not now with 2 strikes, but you might give it an opportunity to get a little walking lead. You come down here and you just kind of hang, you be quiet with your body language, and then all of a sudden you take off and steal home. That's how you do it. You got to have the speed, but you also have to have the lead, the initial lead. You can get as far off as the third baseman will let you.
Base hit right center field. Hosmer does come through. He'll get Dyson and Escobar to the plate, and the Royals lead 3-1. And by the way, the last time the Royals had more than 1 run in an inning was last Wednesday on a home run by Eric Hosmer in the first inning.
That'll bring the nurses to their feet. A sinker that sunk right over the middle of the plate. Haas met it. Good solid contact right by Daniel Murphy. That base hit right there not only plated 2 to give Hosmer some more ribbies for sure. 11 to be exact, but he picked up his teammate Lorenzo Cain. Picked him up. And Lorenzo, I guarantee you, when he sees him, he'll say, way to pick me up. Ah.
Well, Ned Yost, as we're watching the guys having a good time, Ned Yost has said during the struggle, the energy is the same, the focus is the same. Guys are still into the game. They're not hanging their heads in the dugout. And in the much bigger picture, there's a track record. The Royals have hit the skids at some point in each of the last 3 years and have ended up on top when it was all said and done. And now Morales hits it toward left center field. The ball carries on Taylor and he runs it down. Michael Taylor had to put it in another gear to get to that ball. So Morales with another tough luck out, but the Royals get 4 base runners in the 3rd inning and 3 come around to score. Escobar drives in the 1st, and then with 2 down and 2 strikes, Hosmer drives in a pair. Run in the 1st inning on Anthony Rendon's first home run of the year. The Royals get 3 in the bottom of the 3rd against Tanner Roark. Escobar drove in a run, Hosmer 2, and now Chris Young pitches with the lead as he gets Bryce Harper, Ryan Zimmerman, and Daniel Murphy in the 4th.
And for a veteran like Chris Young, team gets out there, been struggling, now he gets the lead. It's not going to change anything. He's going to go out there and stay focused on his game plan. And he's not going to get nervous saying, oh, I got to hold this lead. Now it's time to go execute. Right there, just above. Ooh.
That was right in the radio booth.
I didn't see anybody catching. You know, they're ducking. All right. I guarantee you both of them ducked.
Even Denny?
Well, Denny's always the one with the trajectory rule you're telling me about.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants any part of that ball. He got a souvenir.
Almost on cue. Harper pops it up into shallow right. And Dyson will make the play. Harper is 0 for 2. Let's welcome in Joe Goldberg.
Well, Ryan, good night so far for Eric Hosmer. He did have some offense last night. Now, I heard from a lot of people wondering what was going on when he walked off the field in the 6th inning last night. A lot of people wondering, was there a confrontation here? Because you see the little exchange, a little bit of a smile from Hosmer. But knowing that they're both from Miami, I suspected that was nothing more than playful. I asked Hosmer about it today, and he said, Gio walked by me and said, what's up, Hos? How's it going? They exchanged pleasantries. They lived down the street from each other, and that was their chance to catch up. Hosmer's got great career numbers against Gio. He said he was aware of that coming in.
Yeah, look at that. 12 plate appearances, and Hosmer's reached 10 times. I remember, I think it was Zach Greinke's last year with the Royals, and he was pitching to Coco Crisp. And Coco had spent 1 year with the Royals.
Okay.
And there was a foul ball and there was an argument. 1 and 2 on Zimmerman. And so Zach came down and he and Coco Crisp were having a conversation near home plate, which was right in the middle of the at bat. So they're sorting things out on the foul ball, and the same thing happened. They asked the next day, what were Zach and Coco talking about? Kane on the run and makes a play in right center field, 2 down. And Zach, in a way that only Zach could say it, said that they were talking about Minecraft, the video game, which they both enjoy so much. And
really,
if it was anyone other than Zach, you would think it was a joke, but sure enough, that's what they were talking about.
Yep, it's interesting, the conversations that you can have while you're out there on the diamond. There's no doubt.
2 down to Daniel Murphy. Murphy flied to center in the second inning. Seven of Chris Young's outs have been in the air.
There's another term used whenever you see guys talking with each other, opponents. Take him to lunch.
Well hit to right field, and Murphy makes it a 1-run game. Third home run of the season for Daniel Murphy, and that was on a fastball. So that's 8 home runs allowed by Chris Young this year, all on that pitch.
It's like he was looking for it. They watch video before the game, so they have a pretty good idea for them. Those, not even a stride by Murphy. Just picks up his heel and sets it down. Keeps his weight back. Good swing. And I asked Murphy before the game, what was it like playing against the Royals in the World Series? And he used one word. What do you think that word was?
Frustrating.
Nope.
Devastating.
Nope.
Cool.
Nope. Relentless. Conversation was over. I said, thank you very much. Have a nice day. Relentless. He's talking about the Royals. Uh-oh, what tester with the sun, not the sun, the twilight. Ooh, stayed with it.
Worth flies out to Alex Gordon. The Nationals get a run back. The Royals lead 3-2 to the bottom of the 4th.
I don't know, but she might have used it for the top of her Christmas tree this year. I don't know. We had something like that up on the top of ours.
Alex Gordon is now 3rd all-time in hit by pitches in Royals history. as he got plunked for the 71st time last night. That was the only time he reached base. He is 0 for 1 tonight. So you ask, who has been hit more often than Alex in Royals history? Well, he's tied with David DeJesus, our Toyota League leaders. 3 away from Hal McRae. He's got a ways to go to catch Mike McFarland. Plunked 87 times. And that was just as a Royal.
Huh? Come on. Did he crowd the plate, or were they aiming for him?
You tell me. You were one of his contemporaries.
We fought. We had a great bench clearing brawl, and Mac was right in the middle of it.
2-1 to Alex. Tanner Roark, after 2 scoreless innings tonight, had thrown 17 consecutive scoreless innings. And then the Royals scored 3 in the 3rd. Hit well to left field, but Heisey is there. And there is 1 down.
Yeah, it's interesting, guys. Mike McFarland being a catcher, he's used to getting hit, but he was a tough guy. He didn't crowd the plate that much, Hud, but he was on top of it, but he just never got out of the way when a pitch coming at him.
Love it. Yeah, he was a tough guy, man. I'll tell you what, I had a lot of respect for him. Still do, as a matter of fact. But, you know, that's a lot of hit by pitches. Man, he's a ball magnet.
Upstairs to Salvador Perez. He had 10 more times where he was hit by a pitch other than being a Royal. So 97 in his career, and he led the league twice, Mike McFarland. Now, I know, having broadcasted when David DeJesus and Alex Gordon were here, they both had college coaches that would instruct the hitters when they were down in the count to get closer to the plate. Sounded like a cracked bat. And it's 1-2 on Salvador Perez. Mike Anderson was the coach at Nebraska when Alex was there, and he'd tell the guys, hey, get up on the dish when you're down. 0-2, 1-2. Guy tries to pitch inside and misses, and you get on base. And David DeJesus the same in his college days at Rutgers.
Well, you know, the pitch count now is such a big deal, but back several years ago, 0-2 in the National League especially, you were on your heels. You knew one was coming. They were going to buzz your tower or knock you off the plate. They didn't care about wasting a pitch back then.
I've got some of Wilson Ramos. Still 1-2 on Sal. Rendon at 3rd. 2 down. Remember, you can get closer to the action here at Kauffman Stadium with our Royals Memories program. You can choose amongst a variety of unique opportunities, such as getting a photo on the field, watching batting practice, and delivering the game ball. All experiences are available for purchase each game exclusively through the MLB.com Ballpark app. Omar Infante led off the 3rd inning with a walk and scored the Royals' first run on a base hit from Alcides Escobar. It was the 5th walk this year for Infante.
Any way to get on base. Sliders to right-handers for Chase. Lay off of them. You got a chance to get a good hitting count. You're ahead in the count as a hitter. 2-0, 2-1, 3-1. Pitcher wants to throw a strike, comes in there, gives you a better pitch to hit.
Two and 2 on Infante. Now 5 walks in the 2nd month of the season. This is Infante's 23rd game. That doesn't sound like a lot, and it's not. But last year in 124 games, he walked 9 times. A little soft liner out to short, handled by Espinoza And that's the inning. So Roark, after giving up 3 in the third, has a 1-2-3 bottom of the fourth.
Baker, first year with the Nationals, long-time successful manager and player. Great numbers as a manager. Also played in over 2,000 games as a big leaguer, the majority of them in the National League. But he did play 7 games here at Kauffman Stadium when he was with the Oakland A's in '85 and '86 to round out his career. I asked him if he remembered his 1 homer here. He said no. I reminded him it was against Dan Quisenberry, and that then he remembered, having to spread out his stance, try to hit the style of Quisenberry. But he says, what I really remember about this place was the turf and how hot it was, and my knees were aching, and I'm out there in left field, and little George Orta comes up. This was in 1986, hits a ball into the corner, and I misplayed a double into an inside the park home run. That's the memory he has. It was June 26, 1986. I looked up the date. George, by the way, had another inside the park home run, Ryan, 6 days later here. Amazing that Dusty remembers that bad moment.
I'll bet there are a lot of former outfielders who remember bad days here at Kauffman Stadium with the turf. During some of the renovations, and I don't know which one it was, but I think they've changed the padding in the right field and left field corners, because we would see balls in the corners like a hockey puck in the corner of an ice rink. And you really would have to be careful going into the corner, because there was like a trough, and you can see it there. The outfield wall between the padding and the ground, and the ball would get caught in that trough, and an outfielder would run in the corner to get it expecting a bounce, and it would hug the wall, and it doesn't do that anymore, and it must be because the padding is lower than it used to be. But Dusty Baker and others. Boy, look at that. You'd really have to see a picture to remember what Kauffman Stadium used to look like, because what they've done in the outfield is just blended in so perfectly with the landscape. But that was the turf, and a nightmare, especially if you're an outfielder who couldn't run.
No, it's late in his career. He could run early in his career.
Danny Espinosa struck out against Chris Young in the third inning. He tried to bunt his way on twice. Way out in front of that pitch. No balls and 1 strike.
Well, you got to be able to have the ability to wait. Chris Young using that deceptive fastball with a 6'10" frame makes it tough for hitters.
Pulled foul again. Espinosa a couple of years ago struggled so badly from the left side of the plate that he temporarily gave up switch hitting. Decided to be a right-hand hitter exclusively, so he decided to shave his beard off, and suddenly he could hit left-handed again. I just made that up.
I know you did. Well, you know, when you switch hit, you got to think. It's more thinking than a guy that just hits from one side. You got to constantly be working in the cage on your stroke one way and the other. And some guys have different stances. So, you know, it can be confusing for a guy. It's a lot of work.
It's hard enough to manage one swing in
Right.
the major leagues, but like you said, for guys who are different style on each side of the plate, you're managing two swings.
Right.
Base hit right field. You got a slider that stayed up. Ramos will stop at second, and Washington has 2 on with nobody out.
Well, Young got the ground ball he wanted, but not at anybody. Normally a fly ball pitcher, he doesn't induce a lot of ground ball double plays.
So now the Royals will discuss the approach on Chris Heisey, and we have time to show you our Sprint trivia question for tonight. Who is the only current Royals player to play with the Nationals? I think he's on the mound. That's just a hint.
Yeah. Well, how are you going to miss that one?
Nope. Two and 0 on Heisey. He flied to left field first time up. Two and 1. Luke Hochevar warms up with nobody out in the top of the 5th inning. And now 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Just keep the ball out of that zone there. Keep it down here. Maybe you can induce him into a double play ball. Roll him over with a slider.
All right, I was wrong. You don't have to rub it in.
Yep, good guess.
Strike 3 called. So he comes back to get Heisey after falling behind 2 and 0. And that's Young's 3rd strikeout. Our Missouri Lottery Fox Tracks.
Beauty. Lower part of the zone.
Field and Colbreth with a little pizzazz with a strike 3 called.
Had a little enthusiastic call.
Not quite Tom Hallion, but we appreciate the effort.
That's right.
And now Michael Taylor with 2 on 1 out. Yeah, a little leg kick.
Some style points.
Taylor has flied to center and singled to left.
It'll be tough to double up.
And he's down 0-2.
No, Salvador Perez went out and walked to the mound after that base hit by Espinosa. And looking back in the dugout, you know, I think he was feeling, well, maybe give Ned a little bit of time to get somebody going here. Don't want to let these guys back in the game. Young, he's saying, nah, well, I'm going to nail him. I'm going to get him.
Tried to get him with a fastball up. That was too high. way upstairs again, 2-2. This would be early to go to the bullpen. But Ned got 7 2/3 innings out of Edinson Volquez last night, and then Danny Duffy went an inning and a third, so he only used 2 relievers last night. The Royals have a day game tomorrow and then an off day on Thursday. That's up the right field line, and it is foul. A reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, to look forward to Miller Time later in tonight's game, brought to you by Miller Lite. Eric Hosmer has provided the big moment for the Royals so far tonight with a 2-out 2-run single in the Royals' 3-run third. Blocked by Sal, 3-2. So he hasn't been able to tempt Michael Taylor after jumping ahead, no balls and 2 strikes. And Anthony Rendon, who is homered off of Young, waits on deck.
And he hit a good ball to center in his second at bat too. Lorenzo Cain caught it.
On the ground to Colon. Out at second. And a high throw, ill-advised throw by Omar Infante. I mean, that wasn't even close at first base, and thankfully Hosmer goes up to get it. Otherwise, Ramos may have had a chance to come down from third. The Royals do get Espinoza at second base.
Well, that's another thing of you got to know the runners. You got to know who's hitting, their speed, and there was no chance even on a routine to get him, and he almost threw one away. Colon, good quick hands. Ball a little bit off the bag, stays on it. And Haas is even telling him, don't throw, don't throw. Ooh.
It was not a great feed by Colon, but I don't know if they get Taylor even with a good feed.
That's what I said. I mean, routine ball, you're not going to get him. The guy's fast. He can fly.
So it's first and third, 2 down to Rendon, and Ned's going to stay with Chris Young. Rendon homered just inside the left field foul pole in the first inning, and then hit the ball hard to center field in the third.
Little fastball down and in. He just pulled his hands in. Good short quick swing, and he got all of it. But I like how he put his head down and ran. He sprinted the bases. He knew he got all that. He didn't showboat.
That was his first of the year and just his second run driven in. Down and away, 2-0.
That's a good take. You don't want him to swing over the top of that one.
Three balls and no strikes. Bryce Harper is on deck. A 4-pitch walk to load him up for Harper, and Ned Yost is going to go to the bullpen. So Chris Young gives up 2 solo home runs in 4 2/3 innings, but he leaves behind 3 base runners and Bryce Harper for Luke Hochevar in a Chevy call to the bullpen. Royals baseball is brought to you by your local Kansas City area Chevy dealers. Visit for great prices on the all-new 2016 Malibu. By Panera Bread, food as it should be with 24 KC Metro locations. And by Academy Sports and Outdoors, right stuff, low price every day. Statue of Mr. and Mrs. Kaufman in the outfield experience. Luke Hochevar comes on with the bases loaded, 2 down. The Royals lead by 1. And Hochevar pitches to Bryce Harper. That is foul off the left field line.
Harper swinging early on Hoch. Hoch, good cut fastball, likes to throw him in on lefties. He's done a great job so far this year, taking care of those inherited runners.
He had a little bout of elbow stiffness on Sunday, which did not allow him to appear, but Danny Duffy filled in very well, coming on with the bases loaded, nobody out. Breaking ball swung on and missed, and the count is no balls and 2 strikes. So Hochevar last pitched on Friday night, a scoreless inning in Seattle.
Amazing how those guys can control that ball with just hardly any grip on the baseball. You see Hochevar's hand and his index finger and thumb on the very outside of that ball, and he just snaps it down with that great, nice 12-6 curveball. That's a beauty.
Breaking ball up the middle. Escobar steps on the bag. Once again, Hochevar puts the fire out. And the Nationals leave the bases loaded in the top of the 5th inning.
Way to go, Chris Young. Nice job, Hoch. Way to pick him up there. Got one of the best hitters in baseball out in a key situation.
League MVP and gets a ground out from Bryce Harper. So the Royals lead by 1 as they bat in the bottom of the 5th. Christian Colon, Gerard Dyson, and Alcides Escobar. 2-0 on Colon.
Roark starts missing up in the zone like that. That's a good sign there. Sinker flattening out a little bit. Those are hittable pitches.
Back to Hochevar. Those 15 inherited runners that he's had this year, that's the most in the major leagues. So when we say he is in there to put the fire out, or has been all year for the Royals, those are the numbers that prove it. Into center field, Christian Colon leads off the 5th inning with his first hit. And that's the third time in 5 innings the Royals have had the leadoff man on.
Set that table up. Let's check out the last pitch sequence to Harper from Hochaver. First pitch going to be a cutter up. He's hacking. Big curveball. Swung over the top of it. Not seeing it very well. You could tell. And another curve. It stayed up. But Escobar was right there. Nice job.
And now Dyson bunts it off the plate. Roark fields, throws, close but out. So best case scenario, Dyson reaches with a base hit. Worst case scenario isn't so bad. He moves Colon up to second base.
That's right. He just didn't get it exactly where he wanted. If he bunts it more towards third base, he's got him a knock.
And now the right man to come to the plate with a runner in scoring position. Alcides Escobar, who has 6 hits in his last 11 at bats. He's 2 for 2 tonight with an RBI and a run scored. On the ground to short. Espinosa will throw on the run. 2 down. Well, playing the National League East this year. How about checking out the Royals on the road in Philadelphia or maybe even Miami? Royals destination fan packages are available now and include great game tickets, hotel accommodations, a VIP ballpark tour, and a meet and greet reception with a Royals player. Go to royals.com/destinations. And the Royals will also be going to New York. Kane takes up and in, 1 ball and no strikes. We're going to New York twice. Next road trip to play the Yankees, and then later in the year to play the Mets. Fastball, 1 ball, 1 strike. Lorenzo grounded into a double play in the first inning, and then Roark struck him out looking in the 3rd inning with runners at 2nd and 3rd and 1 out. But then Eric Hosmer picked him up.
Sure did. And you know, good to see him ready to swing at that first pitch. It's right down the middle. He just missed it, but he's ready.
Laid off the slider. Nationals want an appeal. C.B. Buckner says no swing, and it's 2-1.
Nationals defense playing Lorenzo Cain straight up. I mean, as conventional as it can get. Look at the hole up the middle.
Oh. And Roark was able to plug that middle. So Cain is out. Royals had a runner at 2nd with 1 out, but Roark gets Escobar and Cain on ground balls. Still 3-2 KC. Crowd here tonight. We had over 32,000 here last night. Let's get an injury update from our University of Kansas Hospital injury report. Pablo Sandoval, who was criticized for the shape. He arrived in spring training this year for the Red Sox, then went on the disabled list after losing his third base job. Went on with a shoulder injury. Now he's going to have surgery. He's probably going to wipe out the rest of his season.
Yep. You know, he said something was bothering him with his shoulder, and people up in Boston were thinking that he was upset because he didn't get the starting job and that he was kind of not faking it, but you know, and look at it, he had a torn labrum.
1-1 from Hochevar to Ryan Zimmerman. Hochevar gets a full inning here in the 6th after coming on with the bases loaded and 2 down in the 5th, and got Bryce Harper to ground out. Zimmerman, sharply hit ground ball into left center field. Zimmerman running hard, will hold with a long single. He is 1 for 3.
Look at that flamingo kick, man. He brings that leg way up and sets it right down. That's how they load up their hips. Some hitters do it differently, but I'm seeing more and more flamingo kicks now in the game, with guys picking that foot all the way up like that. It's tricky, especially if you're facing a guy that has a good off-speed pitches. It's a timing device, and sometimes if you don't get that foot down in time, your swing's off.
Here's Daniel Murphy. Upstairs for ball 1. Murphy homered in the 4th inning. He flied out in the 2nd. And Murphy is now hitting .385 with 3 home runs and 14 extra base hits in his first month with the Nationals. Colon runs to the dugout sweep, but that's well back into the lower level.
Yeah, and you know, when I had my little conversation with him before the game, I asked him again, you know, what's such a hot start? What's up with that? And he looked at me in a big smile and he said, the hits are falling. And I talked to his teammate Worth, and he says, I'm hitting the ball at everyone and can't get anything to fall. So, you know, it's just sometimes the luck of the draw. It's interesting how the game can play mind games with you.
Curveball hangs high, 2-1 on Murphy.
And the Royals hitters, they'll tell you the same thing.
Off speed, 2 balls, 2 strikes. And Murphy talks it over with Field and Colbreth. We caught him chatting quite a bit with last night's home plate umpire Manny Gonzalez. So Murphy's questioning the outer boundary of the strike zone with Field and Colbreth. 3-2. Hochevar running it up there at 96. And there is Jason Worth waiting on deck. 0 for 2 so far tonight. 0 for 6 in the series. Zimmerman runs, and Murphy hits it into left field. 1 down. Zimmerman back to first base. Tonight's copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Kansas City Royals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Club. Ryan Lefevre with Rex Hudler, and Joel Goldberg and Jeff Montgomery with our producer Joe Vencius, director Steve Kurtenbach, our associate producers Al Broughton, Sam Abramson, Dave Holtzman. The producer of Royals Live is Brian Shapiro, and the rest of our great Fox Sports Kansas City crew, including, of course, our wonderful stage manager, Mike Doc Carruthers.
That's right.
Good to see you, Doc. Jason Worth is grounded to short and flied to left, and now down in the count 0-2.
It's a beauty. Nice little overhand curve cutters, straight four-seam fastball. It's good command.
One ball, two strikes. Zimmerman on with a leadoff single. Two balls, two strikes. Zimmerman has not attempted a stolen base this year, but the reason he was running on that 3-2 pitch to Daniel Murphy is because Murphy at times is one of the most difficult hitters to strike out. So Dusty Baker had a lot of faith that Murphy would make contact if it was near the strike zone. That's into center field and a base hit. And Zimmerman is going to run on Lorenzo Cain, and Lorenzo plays it to second base.
And that's a smart thing there. Zimmerman, good job of forcing the issue, but Cain, had he taken the bait and thrown to third, would have moved up Worth and stayed out of a double play situation. So that's a good decision by Lorenzo.
So the tying runs at third base with one out. Here's Wilson Ramos. In the air to right field, deep to right field, and Dyson lost his balance, and that bounces over the wall for a double. So the game is tied, and Worth will go to third on the ground rule double for Wilson Ramos, his second hit of the game.
Dyson was playing a little bit more shallow than he's used to playing, and this ball was hit pretty good. He got up underneath it, the ball took off. Dyson, didn't play the spin, and there you go. That's a good example of playing center field. The ball comes off truer, and being in right field, that ball's going to tail off a right-handed bat towards the line, and Dyson couldn't read it. It's all part of getting used to playing a different outfield position.
And now it's Joakim Soria warming up in a hurry in the 6th inning. So Hochevar comes on earlier than we're used to in the 5th, and now Soria warms up in the 6th. And now second and third with one out to Danny Espinoza. And Hochevar could really use a strikeout. Slow breaking ball is outside. Espinoza did strike out in the 3rd inning against Chris Young. He's 1 for 2.
Corners are in because he likes to bunt. You never know.
Two balls and no strikes. very high and very foul. 2-1. Espinosa, early in his big league career, had a tough time making contact. He struck out 554 times in his first 500 games.
Ooh. Not good.
So he's cleaned that up somewhat. He has 19 strikeouts this year in 75 at bats. Breaking ball got the outside. 2-2.
Good spot. Staying away from Espinosa, looking like when he's been swinging and not bunting, he's trying to pull. He wants to get one airborne there. That's on the outer half.
Just inside, right where Hochevar and Salvador Perez wanted it.
Ooh, man, that was a good spot. Could have been. Yeah, could have been. It's right where you want to put the ball. Not on the corner, but just a little off the corner. Jam him. A little ground ball to Haas. Can't score the run. So he goes back to the hook.
One hop. Infante is going to have to play it to first. That was a wicked hop. The Nationals take the lead as Worth comes down from third, but Washington could have easily gotten 2 runs on that play. That was a goofy hop out to Infante. Espinosa gets an RBI, and it's 4-3 Washington.
Yeah, he stayed with the hook and stayed up. Hit it hard. Nice play. Good backhand.
So Chris Heisey with a runner at third, and Heisey drives it to center field. Kane is back, still back, and that is off the wall. Washington takes a 2-run lead, and Chris Heisey is going to end up at third base with an RBI triple. His first triple of the year. And Washington has come up with 3 in the top of the 6th inning.
He got all that one. The last 2 pitches, the curveball to Espinosa and the fastball there was right over the middle of the plate. Boy, that's a great swing. Powerful.
And now it's Joakim Soria with a runner at third and 2 down. Another Chevy call to the bullpen. The bases loaded and 2 out in the 5th inning and got Bryce Harper to ground out, and then given a clean inning in the 6th, has given up 3 runs on 4 hits, and now Joakim Soria comes on with Chris Heisey at third base and 2 down to face Michael Taylor. Taylor takes a big rip.
Soria going to work all 4 pitches. Hopefully he's on his command. When he does, he's got some pretty good stuff. It stays on the corners, fastball, slider, change, and curve.
One and one on Taylor. He is 1 for 3 with a 3rd inning single.
On the West Coast up in Seattle, we saw some 95s from Soria. The velocity's good.
And that's hit well to right field. Dyson is back again and makes the play on the track. A 3-run 6th inning for the Nationals. So the Royals tonight have had a 2-run lead, and now the Nationals have had a pair of 2-run leads. Hosmer, Morales, and Gordon are coming up.
Okay, bottom of the 6th inning, Nationals up by a couple, but it was Eric Hosmer bringing the lumber from Yellowwood. Big base hit right there. Reddy knocked in a couple of runs to give him 11 RBIs in the season. That was a huge lift. See if they can set it up and do it again. See what kind of fight the boys got in them tonight.
That gave the Royals a 3-1 lead. And now Washington has come back with 4. They got 1 in the 4th, and they just scored 3 in the 6th. And now Hosmer puts down a bunt. He didn't quite get it as close to the line as he wanted to. And Roark throws him out.
Not a bad effort, but with third base wide open, you don't have to be so fine. You want to, hit it firmly over there. But it's a good try. Just didn't get it down the line enough.
And now Morales, our sonic slam inning contestant, is Frank Shore from Leawood. If the Royals hit a home run in this inning, Frank wins $800. Strike 1 to Morales. If the Royals hit a grand slam, Frank wins $25,000 from Sonic and the Kansas City Royals. Morales hits it to left field. And Heisey toward the corner for the out. Morales is 0 for 3, 2 down. Let's go to Joel.
Oh, you saw Kendricks working on the batting gloves there, and that's something a little bit new to see Kendricks with batting gloves. So used to him going without the gloves. I talked to him about that today and said, why the batting gloves for much of the year? And he said he much prefers to go without them. He thinks he's got a better feel, a better grip without the batting gloves. But he said when it's cold, he wears the gloves. Now, last night it was cold. Apparently this is still cold for him, but he said in places like Oakland this year and in Houston he was without the gloves. I guess as the summer warms up, as we get into the summer, he'll go without gloves. Still too chilly tonight.
1-0 to Alex, and now 2 balls and no strikes. And usually the guys who don't wear batting gloves, that's exactly what they say. They just feel like they got a better feel for the bat in their hands. They like to feel it up against their skin. Two balls and 1 strike.
Whatever gets him hot. Morales, he's been the unluckiest Royal of the last several games.
Two and 2 on Alex. He is grounded to short and lined to left.
And the line drive to left field was a good swing. Stayed on the ball. Wasn't pulling off.
Little bit inside.
Roark with some 94 on his 74th pitch. He's got a lot left.
Royals go down 1-2-3 right after the Nationals get 3 in the top of the 6th inning. That's just the 2nd strikeout for Roark tonight. Five-3 Washington at Kauffman Stadium. So we head to the 7th inning, and Panera will give us a look around the league. 2 Central teams hooking up in Cleveland. Francisco Lindor has a big night in Cleveland's victory over Detroit. Cleveland now 1 game under 500. The Orioles beat the Yankees 4-1. Chicago 10 games above 500. They lead 2-1 at home against Boston. And Minnesota is down 6-3 in Houston. Minnesota is 10 games under 500 and 10 games out in the Central, 1 month into the season. Joakim Soria got the final out of the 6th inning and stays on for the 7th. They get Rendon, Harper, and Zimmerman. Rendon homered in the 1st inning against Chris Young. He has also flied to center and walked. Inside, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Sure looked like it crossed the plate somewhere. It's a good pitch. Good in life on his 2-seamer.
Two and 1. There's a strike. 2-2.
Clock the same location as the previous 2 pitches.
Still 2-2 on Rendon. Nationals got 1 in the first inning on Rendon's home run. Then the Royals got 3 in the third. Escobar and Hosmer driving in the runs, but Washington came back with 1 in the fourth and 3 in the sixth. And now 3 balls and 2 strikes. Bryce Harper is on deck. He is 0 for 3 so far tonight, and just 1 for 7 in the series. That's out of play. On the ground to Escobar. 1 away. Here's how the Nationals came up with the 3 runs in the 6th inning. Wilson Ramos, with runners at first and third, got that ball by Gerard Dyson in right field. That scored Zimmerman. And Espinoza grounded out. That scored Worth. And then Heisey with a triple. His first triple in 2 seasons. And that drove in Ramos and gave the Nationals a 5-3 lead. So 5 runs, 9 hits for Washington, and Bryce Harper has had nothing to do with it. He has just 1 hit in his last 18 at bats, and appeared to make one of the key outs tonight when the Royals had a 3-2 lead in the 5th inning. Luke Hochevar came on in relief of Chris Young with the bases loaded and Harper coming up, and Hochevar got Harper to ground out.
So if you're asking yourself, you know, this kid's got great numbers and he's one of the best players in baseball. Well, why are the Nationals winning? Well, he's not a one-man wrecking crew. They got some other hitters in their lineup that can put up some numbers, and we've seen that. So they're picking him up right now, or he's in a little slump.
2 balls and 1 strike. Yeah, very Royals-like. When the Royals are right offensively, the Nationals, of their 5 runs scored, have come from 5 different hitters, and their 5 RBIs have come from 5 different hitters.
Yeah.
Two and 2.
If you ask him what's his problem, what do you think he says?
Not seeing the ball well.
Bingo.
Soria strikes him out. Got him with the rainbow curve. And now Harper is 1 for 8 in this series.
Oh, that was a nice pitch by Soria. It started up around the letters, and Harper was way out in front of it.
You know, and we haven't seen a lot of Bryce Harper, but I've seen a lot of the highlights, and there have been plenty over the last 2 years. For as much power as he hits, he doesn't really use a lot of pivot on that back leg. He's kind of a front foot hitter.
Yeah, he's on his front foot a lot, but he leverages that front side, gives him a little stiffer the front side on contact. He's getting the little sock into that ball.
Outside to Zimmerman. 1 ball, 1 strike.
We'll show you the last strikeout pitch. As you're seeing, see, he's out. He's leveraging that front side right there, and he's on that front foot. Lifts up the back leg all the way.
That'll be out of play. 1 and 2. Zimmerman started that 3-run 6th inning with a single. Two balls and 2 strikes. He was, and maybe still is with some fans in Washington, but he was certainly the face of the franchise before Bryce Harper came along, their first ever draft pick as the Washington Nationals in 2005. He also got to the big leagues that same year. He's from the region, from the University of Virginia, and that ball is pounded into deep left center field and off the wall. So Ryan Zimmerman's had a heck of a series. He had 2 doubles and an RBI last night, and now 2 hits, another double, and he has scored a run.
Whew, man, that's exactly how you turn on a hanging curve. And there it was. It starts up around shoulder height, ends up belt high. Good. He caught his swing just a tick, and then he was able to unload on it. Nice swing.
Probably telling Alcides Escobar, I can't believe that ball didn't go out.
That's probably exactly what he's saying, man. It's been some hard hit balls in this series, but I don't remember a back-to-back nights here at the K with the flags just straight down, no win.
Daniel Murphy is 1 for 3. Here we go. Or as Mike Sweeney used to say, the wind is blowing straight down. Murphy homered to right field in the 4th inning. Oh, 2. And again, Murphy talking it over with the home plate umpire. What do you think he's talking about? Because normally, at least in this series, all the chatter with the home plate umpire, a balk was called apparently right before the pitch was thrown. So Zimmerman goes to 3rd, and we saw, was it Soria, the game in Seattle where he didn't come set?
Yep, and it was a borderline. I mean, they didn't have to call it. Fine line. He didn't come set.
And that was the call in Seattle that he didn't come set. But anyway, with Murphy talking to the umpires, they're borderline calls. What do you think he's asking? Is that as far as he can? You know, can he go any farther than that and be a strike, or can he go any lower than that and be a strike? Is he talking about, you know, was that in the strike zone or right on the edge of the strike zone?
That depends. A lot of hitters, they're going to talk. They're going to talk to themselves sometimes, but also they'll talk to the umpire without looking at him. So it's hard to tell exactly what he's saying. But if you get an umpire on a bad night, having a bad night, and you're talking down to the ground looking, he'll call you on it. But you don't see. Oh,
right to Escobar. So the shift works perfectly, and now Soria is going to go talk to the home plate umpire Field and Colbreth and ask what the heck is going on, as he's been called on a balk in each of his last 2 appearances. So as they figure that out, it's stretch time at Kauffman Stadium. 5-3 Washington. Strike from Tanner Roark to Salvador Perez. 5-3 Washington in the bottom of the 7th. The Royals had a 3-1 lead at the end of 3. Rendon to his own dugout and can't quite reach it. Royals got 3 in the bottom of the 3rd inning, and they got 2 runs with 2 outs. 2 of those 3 runs with 2 outs. But since the 3rd, the Royals have had 1 base runner, and that was Colon's leadoff single in the 5th. Salvi has flied to center and grounded out to 3rd. And Roark in the 7th inning has thrown 77 pitches.
Cruising. I mean, talked about him earlier, pounding the strike zone. He's aggressive in that zone, and he's not messing around. Sinker ball after sinker. Really been doing it with that pitch mostly all night.
The Royals in the 3rd inning, when they scored the 3 runs, they put an end to Roark's impressive streak. He had gone 17 consecutive innings without allowing a run, and now he's only allowed runs in 1 of his last 21 innings. So Salvi down on strikes as Roark strikes out his 3rd. Well, Denny caught that foul ball earlier in the game, and then finally picked out a fan down below, and that fan took it to his little girl, who tells her brother, no chance. No chance, buddy.
Looks right at us.
Don't even think about it.
She looked right at it.
Omar Infante with 1 out. On the ground to 3rd. 1 hop to Rendon. 2 down. Speaking of Chin-Ming Wong, let's get to the answer of our sprint trivia question. Who is the only current Royals player to play with the Nationals? Hud?
Chin-Ming?
For 2 seasons. Do you know that he also pitched with the Blue Jays?
Didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. Just going over his career and spring training when he joined the Royals. Always going to remember him with the Yankees in those back-to-back 19-win seasons, 2006, 2007. He pitched those 2 years with Washington, and then 6 games with Toronto in 2013. No big leagues in 2014 or 2015. 0-2 on Christian Colon. Strike 3 called, 3 up, 3 down. And now Roark has retired 13 of the last 14 Royals.
5-3 as our Artemisia Mazda game break takes us to interleague play. Important because Tampa Bay had won 7 straight interleague games, longest active in the majors. That has come to an end. Jock Peterson with the home run for the Dodgers. They double up Tampa Bay 10-5. Last night we heard about HUD's trivia question answer, suggesting maybe Warren Cromartie had the most ever homers in Expos Nationals history. That came out of left field. We enjoyed the laugh. And then we found out he had 1 career homer with the Royals. And thanks to Stats Inc. guys, and in honor of you, HUD, we've done a little research. He is the only player in Royals history to have 1 career home run, with that home run being a go-ahead in the 9th inning or later. So he indeed is a part of history, and just one of 100 players in Major League Baseball history to have done something like that. So there you go, HUD.
Thank you, Joel. Way to pick me up, partner.
Here's Dylan G in the 8th inning. So, Joel, one of 100 players.
One of 100 players
that have had 1 home run, and it was a game winner in the 9th inning or later.
For that one team.
For one team.
What amazed me the most, and I just found out.
How do you find that?
Wow. I send an email.
Oh, okay.
That would have taken weeks. What? Uh-oh.
That is not home run number 1 for Jason Worth. That is number 5, and that's how the Nationals greet Dylan G in the 8th inning, and now their lead is 6-3. Now, you were talking about Jason Worth earlier, HUD, swinging the bat well, just hitting into bad luck, and eventually that starts to even itself out.
Sure does, especially when you get pitches like that. Worth got him a base hit in the 6th inning. They scored 3 runs in the 6th. Now he's got one by himself.
Ryan, what amazed me was that Monty remembered that Warren Cromartie home run. He called it. He said that was in the 9th inning at Boston, and we know that Monty usually forgets the bad moments, might remember some of the good ones. He says he thinks he caught that ball in the bullpen at Fenway Park while warming up. So maybe they thought Cromartie was going to homer, take the lead, and sure enough, Monty went in for the save.
Ramos to the gap in right center field. And Wilson Ramos is going to have his 3rd hit and his 2nd extra base hit. So after the Worth home run, the Nationals have a runner at 2nd base and nobody out.
G just finding a little bit too much of the middle here early. Get back on them corners and keep it down. Fastball, slider, change, and curve. A lot like Soria. Maybe not as quite the velocity that Soria has been showing lately, but he'll go 90 to 93.
Fouled back by Espinoza. He is 1 for 3 with an RBI. One and one. Two balls and 1 strike. So Dylan G knocked around with a home run and a double in the 8th inning. Before we could talk about what a nice job he's done for Ned Yost pitching in long relief. His last 3 outings have come in losses, but have been important outings in that he has saved the Royals bullpen. Little crack bat blooper to Colon. And that's the first out. Dylan G, in his previous 3 appearances, had gone 10 in a third innings and given up 2 earned runs.
Some great work too. He had pinpoint accuracy, really hitting his spots, impressing his pitching coach Dave Island.
And now a strike to Heisey, 1 for 3 with an RBI triple. And now Heisey hits it foul, 0-2. One and two on Chris Heisey out of Messiah College in Pennsylvania, Division III. And down on strikes. 2 down in the 8th inning. Coming up Sunday, May 15th, the Braves are in town, and it's our annual salute to the Negro Leagues. Make sure to purchase a theme ticket to receive an exclusive Charlie Hustle brand t-shirt, a seat for the Royals game, and a contribution of $5 to the Negro League Baseball Museum. You can learn more at royals.com/NLBM. Fouled away by Michael Taylor. One for 4 tonight with a single to left field. No balls, 2 strikes. Now this sounds like we're patting the Royals on the back, or at least I'm patting the Royals on the back, but this Nationals team in just 2 games reminds me a lot of the Royals. The way their offense is spread out, they don't have any holes in their lineup. They put the ball in play. Everyone seems to have a pretty good idea of what their skill set is, and they've had very good pitching so far in the series, shutting out the Royals last night 2-0, and now they have a 6-3 lead to the bottom of the 8th. Nationals so far tonight. They have a 6-3 lead. They've out-hit the Royals 12-4, and their starter, Tanner Roark, begins the 8th inning with fewer than 90 pitches. That's number 85. He has set down 13 of the last 14 Royals, going back to the last out of the 3rd. And that was the inning where the Royals scored 3 and at one point had a 3-1 lead.
Roark, you know, he's looked good like a lot of pitchers recently. Whenever you're facing a team that's struggling, when you get the ball against that team, you're excited. You're saying, all right, I'm going to keep them down right here. That's just the nature of the business. When you face a hot offense, you're saying, uh-oh, these guys are hot. I got to cool them off. But right now, just Royals were in the game until the middle innings. They lost the handle.
And Roark, that ball ends up in center field if he doesn't make the play. There are some plays where he wished the pitcher wouldn't try and put his glove on it, but that did save a base hit.
Yeah, he's a good athlete, and look at that, all the middle open right there. That's a knock all the way. If Murphy gets to it, Dyson will beat that out. Gotta help yourself there. Look at that athleticism.
Breaking ball, strike 2, Alcides Escobar. A single in the 1st inning, a single with an RBI and a run scored in the 3rd, and then he grounded out to short in the 5th. Escobar has 6 hits in his last 13 at bats.
It's what you want, and he's using the whole part of the field now. He's got a base hit to center field, left field. He's got a few to right. He's during this little streak he's in, and that's what he wants to do. It's knows the kind of hitter he is.
Into the netting, the new netting above the Royals dugout. One and 2. Roark's an interesting story. He pitched at the University of Illinois and didn't expect to get drafted, so he signed on with an independent team, and then he was drafted, taken in the 25th round.
It's amazing how some guys can find themselves and then become dominant. Like this guy here, this season so far, I would put him in that dominant category. Come in with a 2.03, 31 innings pitched, 30 strikeouts. Another guy that missing bats. Found himself.
Drafted by the Rangers back in 2008. That is over Murphy and into right field. A 3-hit game for Alcides Escobar. So that's just the 2nd Royals hit since the 3rd inning. Saturday, NASCAR is back on FS1 as the circuit heads to Kansas for Racing Under the Lights at the GoBowling.com 400, where Jimmy Johnson will look to defend his title from last year. It all begins at 6 p.m. only on FS1, or watch it live on Fox Sports Go.
Nice track. You know the lights at the speedway there, they're right on the side of the track. I remember when I got my courtesy driving the car several weeks ago, I was sitting in the car and the driver over there, I said, what are those things on the side? He goes, those are the lights. They're not like on top like a stadium. They're on the side. Very, very different. So
Payne takes in the dirt. 2 balls and no strikes.
Royals fans trying to come alive here, help their ball club. At least get to the bullpen. Got a left-hander warming up down there.
Felipe Rivero. Royals saw the other 2 lefties last night, Sammy Solis and Oliver Perez. And that gets away from Ramos and moves Escobar up to second base. That'll be a pass ball on Ramos.
Yep, he just whiffed that one. Ramos. 6'1", 257. He's a big boy, that catcher.
Payne takes a strike. He's had a tough time tonight against Roark. So have many Royals. Lorenzo has grounded out twice and struck out looking. And taking another strike, 3-2. Still 3-2. Big crowd tonight is thinned out just a little bit, not much, and grown accustomed to all those comebacks last year. Look at that. My goodness, a 29-pitch third inning. Everything else is 16 pitches or fewer. 5, 7, 2 10s, a 9, and that's why he's at 100 pitches with 1 down in the 8th inning.
When your sinker ball's working, you're going to get a lot of ground ball outs.
Payne bloops it into left center field. That is down. Escobar will stop at third. And that brings up Hosmer as the potential tying run. And with 101 pitches, and the Royals going through their 4th time through the order against Roark, and Hosmer has driven in 2 of the 3 runs. Dusty Baker has a lefty ready in the bullpen, and he will make the move.
Heck of a job by Roark, man. He was tough.
Night on offense for the Royals against the Nationals. The Royals do have a couple of RBI hits. Alcides Escobar in the 3rd inning. He's at third base. Lorenzo Cain's at first. The biggest hit tonight was from Eric Hosmer with 2 on and 2 out and 2 strikes in the third.
And he crushed it. Now that's how you hit a sinker ball. You just got to find the holes. They weren't able to do it enough, but that was a big hit right there. Maybe he can get another one. Get one airborne here.
That gave the Royals a 3-1 lead, and the Nationals have scored 5 unanswered runs. Felipe Rivero, and Hosmer goes after the first pitch.
Yeah,
96
right.
from Rivero.
He's a hard thrower. He'll touch 98. Got a good curveball and a changeup. Likes to throw sinkers. So he's a sinker ball guy. Lefties. Only one righty's taken him deep so far this year. 15 strikeouts. He's got a good power fastball, but you know, look at he's very unorthodox. He's open, almost like a hitter. Get that right foot all back like that.
Up the middle. Espinosa steps on second, throws to first, not in time. A run scores. It is not an advisable play to dive in head first into first base, but it just shows how badly Eric Hosmer wanted to avoid a double play.
Yeah, and to pick up a run, just get a little bit closer, hit that ball squarely. I mean, the shortstop playing right there in the middle, heads up there by Espinosa to try to turn the double play, but absolutely no chance. Haas, like you said, injuries happen when you dive in there. Thankfully, he had those fingers up. That's it.
Well, we've been saying for about 3 or 4 days now that the unluckiest Royal has been Kendrys Morales. He has been grounding out sharply, lining out to the outfield, flying deep to the outfield, one at bat after another. And he jumps on the first pitch. Here's Morales. This was in the first inning last night.
Yeah, you know, it didn't barely got it off the end of the bat, but still, this guy's been hitting the ball all over the place tonight. And again, third inning, hit another nice ball. Run down. Taylor put it in gear. See if Morales can catch one.
Down and in. 1 ball, 1 strike. One ball, 2 strikes. Nobody on the Royals roster has ever faced Felipe Rivero, at least at the major league level. And there you go. He can bring it. Aroldis Chapman and Zach Britton are the only other lefties who have a faster average fastball.
And he's not right over the top either. He's got a little 3/4 action.
On the ground to short. And the flip to second. Espinosa to Murphy to end the inning. The Royals get a run back. They are down by 2 as we go to the 9th inning. free of the Royals' 4 runs. Washington, on the other hand, and here's what we were talking about last inning, their ability to spread out their offense. How about the only hitless player? And this is the biggest difference between the Royals and the Nationals. The Nationals have a star offensive player in their lineup. He's 0 for 4, but the other 8 all have a base hit.
Yeah, and imagine when they're all going at once, they're putting up some numbers. This team's tough. And by looking at their bullpen, man, they're strong there too. Murphy, he got a hold of one, having a great start to his season. And Worth took a fastball way out on a ball in the middle of the plate.
Chin-Ming Wong will pitch the 9th inning, getting Rendon, Harper, and Zimmerman. He is the 5th Royals pitcher tonight. Chris Young went 4 2/3. He allowed 2 runs. Luke Hochevar went 1 inning, allowed 3. Joakim Soria an inning and a third, scoreless, and Dylan G allowed 1 run in 1 inning. So Rendon, who homered in the 1st inning, altogether 1 for 3 tonight. One and 2.
Sinker baller. Likes to keep the ball down. He'll go 90, 93 with it. Mix in a little slider maybe. It's mainly sinkers.
Got him. Sinker that just disappeared on Rendon. 1 down. Remember to grab your copy of the updated version of Dayton Moore's book, More Than a Season, with 2 new chapters. The book explores the intersection of faith, family, and leadership in the process of rebuilding a championship culture in Kansas City. And 100% of the book sales support Dayton's charity, See You in the Major Leagues. It's available at the Majestic Team Store. Now Bryce Harper with 1 out. That's out of play. Harper is 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. He is 1 for 8 in this series with 4 strikeouts.
You know, I was able to take a copy of that book on the road and read some of those the new chapters. I love Dayton put some letters in there from fans that he gets. He gets a lot of letters from fans. Some of those he put in there is emotional. I mean, this is how it's the Royals have changed a lot of lives around here. People, you know, it's done so much for them. That's a great read.
Strike 3 called. So Harper's been a non-factor. He is 1 for 9 in the series with 5 strikeouts.
There you go. He's just in one of those funks. Look at the movement there. 93. Yeah, right on top of the 2 seams. And that's down the middle, but the way Harper's going right now, he's just not seeing it.
Ryan Zimmerman with 2 down. Outside, 2 balls and no strikes. Yusmeiro Petit on the right, Jonathan Papelbon on the left. Two and 1. into the right field corner and back into the crowd. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Zimmerman. Escobar gets a nice big hop. Zimmerman is out, and Chin-Ming Wong has a 1-2-3 ninth inning. Well, just like last night, the Royals are down by 2, facing Jonathan Papelbon in the bottom of the ninth. Baker's team just 2 series ago, they were swept at home by the Phillies, but they swept the Cardinals in St. Louis over the weekend, and now going for their 5th consecutive win if they can hold on tonight. As promised earlier in the game, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite.
Tanner Roark was doing a great job working down in the zone on the Royals. He got him to hit a lot of atta balls. They have a lot of strikeouts, but you know he was able to put that right where he wanted. Helped himself with a good field there. Nice fielding job.
Well, Jonathan Papelbon comes on for a 2nd straight night, a 2-run lead for a 2nd straight night, and facing the same 3 hitters for a 2nd straight night: Gordon, Perez, and Infante. Outside to Alex, hitless in 3 trips. That also includes a line out to left field.
That's his first pitch split finger. He's got a split finger. He's got a slider go 90 to 93. Not overpowering, but gave Alex some good pitches to hit last night.
1-1.
This time he's on the corner.
Two balls and 1 strike. Last night, Gordon flied to center, Perez flied to center, and Infante struck out.
Yeah, just find a way. Any way you can get on base there. Get him in some trouble.
3-1. Didn't mean to do it, but sometimes the ball finds a hole. Not what Alex had in mind with either the swing or beating the shift, but he ended up putting it in the perfect spot.
And sometimes That kind of hit is all you need to turn it around. Look at that. Didn't even get a full hack on it, but he places it perfectly. Good for him. How many times has he hit into the shift?
It was almost like an unintentional game of pepper, just
right
guiding the ball to that gap in the infield.
Right idea.
So Salvador Perez with a man on. 0-1. Salvi was convinced he was going to get a first pitch fastball.
3-pitch guy. What makes him tough is that the split finger goes down and in. Slider away.
Base hit left field. Alex rounds second. The throw goes to second. And the potential winning run comes to the plate with nobody out. And we have a Terrence Gore sighting. So don't take your eyes off the screen, because the tying run might be at second base in the blink of an eye.
Better believe it. Hopefully he can get there. Salvi got a fastball right down the middle, and he drove it. Too bad he couldn't get under that one. You could see Murphy, Daniel Murphy, waving at the top of his feet, his arms. He's waving to Heisey out there in left field. Throw it here, throw it here. He did. Ramos, strong catcher. We talked about it. He's 4 for 8 in throwing out base runners this year. 29% really in his career. That's a good mark.
Infante walked and scored in the third inning, otherwise 0 for 2. 3 out of 8 against Papelbon. The strikeout was last night to end the game. Papelbon got him with a slider away.
Gore likes to go early. Papelbon, he's not going to pick him off, but he wants to try to see if he can get him guessing.
Three straight.
He gave him his A move the first throw over. Last two were his B and C moves. Gore, low to the ground. Billy gets great speed. He's gone.
Good pitch to throw on. He is safe. I think Murphy lost control of the ball. Second base umpire Jim Reynolds hesitated. He didn't give an immediate out or safe call. So maybe he was prepared to call him out.
What a throw by Ramos. That was outstanding. Man, quick release. How do you put a ball in the bag like that against Gore? Wow. Makes Gore 10 for 10 in the regular season. He had it.
Oh, man.
Had him.
He sure did.
See, that throw was a perfect throw. Look at, oh, Murphy, man, just couldn't hang on to it. Could be a break for the Royals. Lousy knock.
By the way, Gore hadn't been in a game since the 17th of April. Infante chased that slider. That's the pitch that got him last night against Papelbon. 1-2.
Infante hunting that fastball. It's a little bit up and out of the zone, but he's looking for it. Now, Papelbon with a split finger. That's a pitch you like to go to after a fastball. You break it down and in. Could go back with a slider.
And he lays off it. Foul. Time the slider stayed up.
Yeah, staying alive. And Papelbon being careful with the fastball. If he throws it, he wants to keep it out of the zone, just like he did 2 pitches ago. Up.
There was a little confusion over the first pitch when Gore stole second base. And now everyone's correcting the count. It is 1-2, not 2-2. Fastball struck him out. And now Christian Colon will head back to the dugout. And Mike Moustakas will come to the plate.
Well, he got him out with a fastball up. Could be a different story here. Moose doesn't necessarily hunt high fastballs. Looking for a pitch. First base open. Dyson on deck.
Moustakas on a tag play in the Anaheim series tweaked his left thumb. And then on a swing Sunday re-injured it. He was on deck. He was going to pinch hit in the game last night, but Infante struck out to end the game. Ned Yost thinks that it bothers him more fielding ground balls, catching the ball, than it does swing the bat. I'm sure it hurts doing both, but more so on defense.
Let's hope he can come through. Lately he's been using the opposite field. He's not up there trying to pull.
Up and out of the strike zone. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Papelbon knows all about the Royals and how they put the ball in play, but they usually do it on pitches that are middle and down. He's using the upper part of the strike zone very well so far tonight.
Royals leader with 7 home runs. He has driven in 11. 2 balls and 1 strike.
But you know what? Off the bench, at least he swung at the pitch. Once you swing at a pitch when you're a pinch hitter, you're in the game. You've gauged your swing on his pitch. So he's got a swing in there. What he's doing against lefties. Man, he's breaking.
Foul tip, 2-2. Papelbon is at 17 pitches. That's how many pitches he threw last night, getting the Royals 1-2-3. Gordon opened the inning with a check swing infield single. Salvador Perez singled. That sent Gordon to third. Terrence Gore, playing for the first time since April the 17th. Pinch ran for Salvador Perez. Went on the first pitch. He stole second base. May have been out if Daniel Murphy held on to the throw from Ramos. So second and third with nobody out. Omar Infante struck out. And now Moustakas. On the ground, base hit center field. Gore to the plate, and Mike Moustakas comes off the bench and ties it in the ninth inning.
One of the biggest hits of the year for Moose. Look at this pitch now. Outer half, Moose stayed on it. Papelbon didn't go upstairs like he did the previous two pitches to get the swing and miss, and it was the split finger. Yeah, splitty that stayed up. Took just enough off of it. Moose, nice piece of hit.
It's the first time in over a week that the Royals have scored more than 4 runs. Dyson into left field, right at Heisey. 2 down. That is the second blown save for Jonathan Papelbon this year.
Check out Moose. Gets the big hit, turns to the dugout and says, fellas, come on, let's get us a game. Like it.
Alcides Escobar has a 3-hit game. Slider is outside for ball 1. Now it's interesting with Moustakas. There are so many different shifts for him, and we've seen more shifts with the shortstop on the right side of second base. That ball would have been hit right to the shortstop, but the Nationals version is to keep the shortstop on the left side of second base. That opened up that little hole.
Sure did. Alex Gordon, remember that little check swing dribbler over there, beat the shift. Left fielder deep, Heisey.
Escobar, base hit left center field. That could get Moustakas to third, and it will. Winning run 90 feet away.
Escobar scalding hot right now. Anything out over the middle of the plate, he's hitting. It's amazing how you can flip the switch, even though it's hard to do, but it's happened here. We're watching it, and Escobar again able to find some outfield grass.
Mike Maddox is out to visit with Papelbon, who had a 3-up, 3-down inning against the same hitters last night. Tonight he's given up 2 runs on 4 hits. The Royals, by the way, are 4 for 9 with runners in scoring position, a category that's been a struggle for most of the year. And now a base hit, a wild pitch, a pass ball, and the Royals can even the series.
Gotta love the fight in the Royals. Tough offensively as they've been the last week. They're scrapping and clawing, and they're doing it against their closer.
Escobar runs, and Kane fouls it back. Lorenzo there, who at times has been over swinging this year. That time he looked like he took a nice easy swing, just trying to hit it into right field. Lorenzo singled in his last at bat. He's hit in 6 straight. Escobar runs again, and it's fouled away. 0-2. Running again. Kane, left center field. Taylor on the run. is going to be dogpiled in shallow center field as the Royals walk off and win it 7-6.
Could be the wind that turns him around. What a stroke. Got the first 2 fastballs by him, did Papelbon, and then he went back with it again thinking he could sneak a piece of cheese by a very hungry rat. Locane said, we've come this far, we might as well walk it off. That's some kind of comeback there. And the Royals looked flatter than anything, and then here it comes, that never quit mentality, bringing a smile to the skipper, Ned Yost. Fantastic job, and comeback that could really help them get the series tomorrow.
That was an 0-2 pitch.
I mean, right down Broadway, right there. Lorenzo Cain, great stroke. Solid, compact, and clutch. Before that, it was the Moose that got loose and got a pinch hit single and knocked in a couple of stakes, and it was huge.
And it was Moustakas who scored the winning run on the winning hit from Lorenzo Cain, and those two are standing by with Joel.
All right, Ryan, thank you very much. Yes, the game-winning hit, the game-tying hit, and the winning run. Mike Moustakas, Lorenzo Cain. Guys, go take your bath. I know it's a little chilly, but Moose, how good does that feel considering the comeback?
Yeah, it feels great. I mean, we're battling all game. That's a great team over there, and be able to come back in the ninth and win a ball game, and Locane coming up clutch. It's a big win for us.
Lorenzo, been waiting for that hit. Rex Hudler just said you can't sneak a piece of cheese by a very hungry rat. Take us through that at bat and being down in the count.
Just trying to put a nice and easy swing on the ball, just trying to put it on the play, and ended up hitting a line drive and got the walk-off hit.
The electricity in this place, you had the lead, give it up to be able to come back with the struggles recently. What does that mean to this group right now? The energy was incredible at the end.
It was huge to come back and get a win right there. Definitely get us going. Get ready to bounce back tomorrow and hopefully get another W.
How about the pinch hitting abilities of your all-star third baseman?
Oh man, outstanding job by Moose. To come through in the clutch right there, driving 2 runs, tie up the game. I mean, outstanding job by him.
Moose, the rare pinch hitting opportunity. You almost had one last night. I know battling a little bit of the thumb. Any challenges for you, and what was your mindset getting up there with the game on the line?
Just trying to go up there and get a hit. The guy's been grinding it out, and I knew I needed to do something to get the job done, and I was fortunate enough to get a good pitch and get a knock and, tied up the game and just set the table for this guy. And, he delivered it like he always does. It was a big at-bat by him, and, I just want to say thank you to you guys that stuck around. It's unbelievable. Thank you.
Mike Moustakas, Lorenzo Cain, congratulations. One of the biggest wins, if not the biggest of the year. Ryan, back up to you.
What a night. 33,729, and if anyone's heart is racing out of control, good thing it was Nurses Day at the K.
Yeah, how about it? Way to go, nurses. Salvi, double dunk, man, loved it. One-stop shop there, just dumped it all. How about it? Woo, that's a cold one.
Royals, remember, they had been shut out in 3 of their last 4 games. They had not scored more than 4 in over a week. And I'm with you. That has the feeling of the game that gets them going.
And how about that? Gore stays 10 for 10 in his career in steals. Moose with a clutch knock. Turns to the dugout, says, let's finish it off. And they did. Escobar came up and said, all right, I can chip in. Lorenzo Cain and Jonathan Papelbon blew a second save, and the Royals took it to him.
So a lot to talk about tonight. We're just getting started. Royals win it 7-6 in walk-off fashion. We'll be right back.